Hello everyone, my name is Seth Jensen and this is my Linux distro comparison project. When I started this project, I was not familiar with any Linux distributions. Of course I had heard of Linux and knew it was some sort of computer program, but that was about the extent of my knowledge. Once I finished this project, I was much more familiar with the ideas behind Linux and the operating systems that are the product of these ideas. Linux is a free, open source operating system that has been around since the 90s. There were some earlier projects that led into the development of Linux, but our main focus for this presentation is a couple of Linux operating systems that are currently available. Since Linux is open sourced, it has allowed users from across the world to customize it to best suit their needs. Users have been working together and have compiled their knowledge and innovations into multiple different operating systems that are used today. In this presentation, I will be comparing some of them. 3 of them to be exact: Linux Mint, Linux Ubuntu, and Linux Debian. Since all of these operating systems are Linux-based, they all have similarities with differences depending on what the operating system is designed to do and who or what they are for. I will be looking at 5 aspects of each operating system: their performance, installation, process, user interface, software availability, and the community support of each of them. The first aspect I will be talking about is the performance. Linux operating systems are known to be customizable and stable, with varying degrees of each. The Debian operation system is one of those extremely customizable and stable systems. It allows the user a lot of freedom when setting up the operating system, but it is not as user-friendly as others and requires some knowledge of Linux systems. Debian is an operating system that focuses on the fundamentals, and it shoots to be the universal operating system. It can be used in many devices, including desktops, servers, embedded devices, and cloud instances. It is extremely stable, meaning that software components remain unchanging and consistent over long periods of time. It is known to perform well, and as the old saying goes, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. This does lead to problems sometimes with newer hardware and software that the system hasn't had an update to deal with, but also allows Debian to work with older systems. Debian is known to be one of the operating systems that takes up little resources. It requires at least 512 megabits of RAM, 2 to 4 gigabytes recommended, a 1 gigahertz processor, 2 gigahertz or more recommended, and 4 to 10 gigabytes of storage, 20 gigabytes or more recommended. Ubuntu is an operating system is more designed for beginners and general users. Although it is still very customizable, updates are more readily available for it, but it still remains stable. Ubuntu is actually Debian-based. Because of that, it is similar to Debian in most ways. It can be used in many different devices, although different versions of Ubuntu are available for each device: Ubuntu Desktop, Ubuntu Server, etc. It may not be quite as compatible with other hardware like Debian is, but there are lighter versions available for such cases, like Xubuntu or Lubuntu. Hardware requirements for Ubuntu are a 2 GHz dual-core processor, 4 gigabytes of RAM, 8 recommended, and 25 gigabytes of storage, 50 or more recommended. It is slightly heavier on resources than Debian, but not extremely. Linux Mint is the best operating system for beginners, and it is actually based on Ubuntu. Like Ubuntu, it has more regular updates, making it friendlier to new hardware and software. It is still customizable, though potentially the least customizable out of the 3. Its hardware requirements are not incredibly robust, only requiring a 1 GHz processor, 2 recommended, 1 GB of RAM, 2 recommended, and 15 gigabytes of disk space, 20 recommended. It has been designed to be a desktop operating system, making it rarely used on servers or other devices. The next aspect of these operating systems I will talk about is the installation process. The installation process for these operating systems are all very similar. First, an ISO file needs to be downloaded on a bootable device, like a USB. Then plug the USB into whatever device you want the operating system installed on, and boot from the USB. Once booted, an installer will work with you to set up the operating system how you want it. This is one of the places customability of each operating system comes into play. Debian allows you to customize more options than the others during install and after, such as the desktop environment, partitioning, security, software selections, and more. Ubuntu allows you to slightly less customization, and Mint the least, although still somewhat customizable. Once you have made your customizations, the installer will finish the installation and need to restart the device. Remove the USB when the machine is powered down, and the install should be complete. The user interfaces for each operating system differ somewhat, especially Linux Mint. Linux Mint uses a GUI called Cinnamon. Cinnamon is a GUI that is designed to be extremely user-friendly, especially to new users coming from a Windows system. Cinnamon is slightly more resource-intensive than other GUIs. It looks and functions much like the Windows UI. The GUI for Ubuntu can be changed based on user preference, although it usually comes with one called GNOME. This is not as beginner-friendly as Cinnamon, but the learning curve is not extreme. GNOME can also be used in Debian, but Debian allows the user to select from a wide variety of GUI based on their desires. The software available for all of these operating systems are extremely similar. Mint comes with mostly basic software as it focuses on out-of-the-box, ready-to-use deployment. It can run Mozilla apps like Firefox, also Google Chrome, most of the LibreOffice apps, media apps like VLC, image editing apps like GIMP, and more. Ubuntu can run and comes with most of these apps as well, with some more capabilities of running more media and developmental tools. Debian allows more complex apps for development and supports numerous architectures like AMD 64, i386, and ARM 64. Debian is not as flexible with newer software as Mint and Ubuntu are because of the less frequent updates. The community support surrounding these operating systems are massive. This makes sense since these operating systems were basically developed by the community, even though now they are distributed and expert support is available to those using these operating systems, especially in business environments. The community forums and web pages may be the best place to look for a solution to an issue that has been seen and resolved before. This has been my presentation comparing Linux Mint, Linux Ubuntu, and Linux Debian. Completing this project has widened my knowledge of these systems greatly. Thanks for listening.